We go back to my place, we have one last sip of beer, and I go to the bathroom, I take that sip, and next thing I know, I wake up Monday morning at 11 a.m. My phone's gone, my iPad's gone. Thankfully, my liver and organs are still here. My mom's freaking out. I'm in a third world country. She's like, what the happened? So that was a very crazy experience.
What's up, everybody? We're back with the Medellin Buzz. My name is Andrew, and today we are interviewing our friend Omir. How you doing?
Doing wonderful. Thanks for having me on.
We are in El Parque La Bailarina in Patio Bonito. We're gonna walk around different points, ask him his whole story about living here, running a business. You ready?
I'm ready.
Let's do this.
So I'm originally from Israel, but I grew up in the United States, Atlanta, Georgia. And about 4 or 5 years ago, I moved here to Medellin, Colombia.
Why did you choose Medellin?
It's a funny story because I had no intention of ever coming to Medellin, Colombia. I was, in a sense, forced to come here for a work retreat in March 2020. And then I got stuck here during COVID. And then I was like, I kind of like this. Let me come back. At the time, I was living in San Diego, California, which is one of my favorite cities in the world. I kept coming back here every few months, kept coming back. And I was like, you know what? Let me just test out living here. Since 2021, I decided to move here and really haven't looked back. The number one reason I'm here is because of the weather. I mean, that is the selling point. People are like, oh, it's chicks and da-da-da. I'm like, yes, look, there's that all over the world. This weather to me brings happiness and brings me joy, knowing that it's winter right now. If I was in another place in the US, I'd be freezing my butt off. I'd be sick. And here it's like, man, it's just beautiful all the time, and I genuinely love it.
I noticed your shirt. It
Yes.
says protect our borders,
Correct.
hire remotelatinos.com.
We are remotelatinos.com. We hire all sorts of talent from Latin America for businesses that are scaling remotely. This is a logo. It's kind of a little bit of a satire. I am a believer that the first freedom anybody can get in the world today is location freedom. We were taught about financial freedom, and I think it is possible, but most people are not going to, no matter what they're going to try, they're never going to achieve financial freedom. However, you can achieve a lot and almost anything you want with location freedom, which is what we're helping business owners do with scaling remotely and finding team members for them based here in Colombia or Mexico or anywhere else. We've actually hired close to 100 people from Colombia this year alone, only because my team is mostly here. So they find really good talent. So we hire people from Medellin, Bogota, and other places in Colombia. And really the mission and vision is for us to help 10,000 businesses scale remotely while helping 10,000 people find remote careers, be able to live their dream life and ultimately achieve everything they want.
I've got a ton of questions. Let's get to the next spot.
Let's do it.
Let's do it. All right, next question is, what are some of the challenges of running a business here in Medellin?
Distractions, right? Especially living in Medellin, Colombia. I mean, you're in the party hub of Central and South America. So I would say the distraction is the downside of scaling, but I believe that if you come here disciplined, you can build anything you want times 10. If you come here and you're all over the place, you're disorganized and you party all the time, this is the worst place to be. People I bring here all the time, and sometimes I'm like, you know what, I don't think you're ready for Medellin because you might lose yourself because it is a crazy place. Plus it's so cheap. So it's like, I've seen people at the top and I've seen people at the bottom, and man, the bottom is not very fun.
What is the biggest reward for you having the business here?
My personal story is that my closer literally is rich now, which is pretty cool. And was able to buy himself a home here, and he's taking care of his team. And I've had internally 8 team members that have bought either houses or cars for themselves. And then we've hired about 1,300 people in the last several years. And I always tell my team, I'm like, 1,300 is what we account for. What about the people that they helped, right? Because for me, the coolest part is when we help someone that's from the barrios that took care of themselves, be able to stay disciplined, learn English. That's the first escape. And then be able to find a remote job as a virtual assistant, right? And then grow into a professional, and then be able to then impact your community, because the first people you take care of is your friends. Then you impact your community. And then there's a little kid that sees you being able to escape the barrio life and being able to escape the selling drugs. And one of the biggest problems here in Medellin, Colombia, unfortunately, is women that get into prostitution. It is such an easy route for her to go the OnlyFans route or even be on the streets and sell her body, but she chose the harder route, which ultimately became the best route and the better route for her and her future.
That is absolutely amazing. Congratulations on the business and the charity work. I've got more questions about, we're gonna switch topics and talk about more of your personal life and your experience living here, but let's get to the next spot.
Let's do it.
Let's do it. All right, so what are the pros and cons of living in Medellin? Let's start with the good stuff.
The cost for living is obviously incredible. I mean, Poblado is still, people are like, oh, it's so cheap. I mean, I still spend, a few $1,000s a month, but my lifestyle is incredible compared to what I could get in the US. I mean, for $2,500 a month, I live in a penthouse with a chef, maid, and a personal assistant. I'm not gonna get that anywhere else, right? And I tell my friends, I'm like, if you can find me this somewhere else, I'll go. But until then, I'm here. So obviously cost. I also love the energy of people here. I think everybody's very kind, very nice. I love that there's a lot of holidays here. There's a lot of festivities here. In the US, we only have like 12 holidays. Here, there's like 24. So people here are clearly more happy. You see the suicide rate compared to the US, it's not even close. You have everything in Colombia. Like we have a lake, which is about an hour and a half, 2 hours away in Guatapé. If you want to go to the beach, you go to Cartagena, Santa Marta, it's an hour flight. Bogota, which is the capital, you can literally fly anywhere in the world from Bogota. You can go to Europe, you can go to Asia. It's one of the best airports. Actually, when I fly into Colombia, I almost always fly into Bogota because I can't stand the Medellin airport. There's so many different business owners, all sorts of entrepreneurs, people in crypto, stocks. For me, I actually have a bigger network here than anywhere else in the world. We are all escaping something to come here, and it's so much easier to connect with another business owner. And I think that honestly is what is keeping me here, is just the community and the people that are here.
Next question is, what are some of the negatives of living in Medellin?
You hear robbing stories, you hear people getting drugged and robbed. I was a victim of that almost 3.5 years ago. So that can happen. Another thing that I feel like has stopped, this past year has stopped, but it is still here, are guys that are coming here specifically for sex tourism. And then not even that, but when they promote it and have parties for it, and that is their brand and that's their business, there's people that literally started like coaching programs to help men get laid. And I'm like, dude, if you come to Colombia and you have a problem with women, you gotta like seek therapy at this point, because they're very receptive here, and women are just, they're so kind and nice, but their kindness can also be taken for the wrong thing, and you can be taken advantage of. A downside is if you do hire Colombians, and I talked about this, is you're gonna have to put up with some holidays that if they want to take off. Again, it's not too much of a negative to me because I love the work-life balance, so that's very important. Don't get offended if you're Colombian and if you love Colombia, because I love Colombia and not many people love Colombia. But to me, since I've been to 5 or 6 Central South American countries, Colombia's food is very okay. It's very okay. It's not bad. It's not the most amazing food. Nobody that I know comes to Colombia for food experience. If you really want the best food in Latin America, you go to a country that's not as cool as Colombia, like Peru. No offense, Peruvians. And you might have better food experience. So those are the negatives.
Oh, so you mentioned that you were a victim of being robbed here.
Yes.
If you don't mind sharing that story,
Yeah.
What happened?
I got on a Tinder date, and at that point, I've been here in Medellin for almost a year. Been on plenty of dates. I was dating a couple girls here and there. So I thought I was invincible, Mr. Invincible. I go on a date with this girl. She's beautiful. I got dogfished. Dogfish is the opposite of catfish. When I saw her in person, she was actually better looking. So I was like completely mind blown. I was like, I am such a fucking champion. How did I do this once again? It was a little bit too easy because she wanted to go back to my place before going to get dessert, before going to dance. She just straight wanted to go to my place. Again, I'm like, I'm a champion, so this makes sense. We go back to my place. We have one last sip of beer, and I go to the bathroom. I take that sip, and next thing I know, I wake up Monday morning at 11 a.m. My phone's gone, my iPad's gone. Thankfully, my liver and organs are still here. My mom's freaking out. I'm in a third world country. She's like, what the happened? So that was a very crazy experience. There's people that this happens to, and they're embarrassed, and they don't tell anybody. So I spread it everywhere. I'm like, yo, everybody in the world needs to know about this. Since that happened to me, it has not stopped. And I have been on podcasts, I've been on news, I've been telling everybody like, yo, watch out. I still use Tinder. I have a Tinder date literally in 2 days. Tinder's not at fault here. The fault is the fact that I went after a girl that clearly showed me red flags. She asked me if I lived alone multiple times. Way too easy. I mean, girls here are, let's say, quote unquote easy, but they're not that easy. And number 3, I didn't keep an eye on her the whole night. Everything about her was just a red flag, and I ignored those red flags. And that is why I became one of the victims. That's why I blame myself more than I blame her. This is why I want to tell people, like, hey, if you come here, it is an amazing place. That you can see there's way more pros than cons, and even the cons are really not that bad. As long as you're careful and you're smart and you're surrounding yourself with the right people, listening to Andrew's channel, learning about the lifestyle here in Medellin, because let me tell you this happened in Medellin. This can also happen in Bogota. This can also happen in the US, right? Believe it or not, I learned a lot. Obviously, I hope it doesn't happen to anybody else, but you play stupid games, you win stupid prizes.
A lot of great advice there. Thank you for that. Let's get on to the next questions. Let's go to the next spot. What would be your advice to someone that's sitting out there watching this video in the United States or in another country, and wishing that they could live in Medellin and saying, okay, I'm going to take the dive and relocate, what would your advice be to someone like that?
Visit for 2 weeks, 2 to 4 weeks, see how it is, and then maybe come back one more time before you make the final decision. That's what I did. The second thing is to join communities that make you feel at home, right? We have entrepreneur communities, we have yoga communities, I mean, all sorts of things, probably something that you're into. There's a community here for that. I think at least 2 weeks, but ideally around a month gives you a little bit of stability and you get back into your routine, especially you're not gonna vacation for a whole month. And then lastly is watch and learn from people like Andrew and AK Joel who've been here for years and have dedicated their life into giving you content. You can literally learn everything from where to live, where to go, who to hang out with, where not to go, where not to do. That is something that is a huge positive for anybody that's looking to live here seriously. The hardest thing was to be able to live here long term because I never really thought that would happen. I don't know how to describe it to you guys, but the best thing I can tell you is you got to take the leap of faith because most people don't live their hometown. They grow up around where they went to high school, the same people, the same faces. I did not want to be that person. I wanted to be the first one in my circle to be able to step out of my comfort zone and actually make my own path and then be able to bring people into Colombia.
Give us a 30-second elevator speech about your business.
So Remote Latinos is a fractional recruiting service for any business that wants to hire A players all over Latin America, whether it's closers, appointment setters, video editors. We've hired over 1,300 people over the last couple years. We also are launching a marketplace similar to Upwork or onlinejobs.ph. We have our own version of that where you can hire A players on your own called go.remotelatinos.com. It's only $97 a month and you can find all the talent that you want. Remote Latinos can help you out.
All right, Omir, thank you so much for being an awesome guest. Guys, make sure to check out his Instagram and his contact information is also in the description below. If you want to get in touch with them, we'll see you guys in the next video. Thanks, bro.